So, this is a cigarette. I took the filter off of it. I got it from a man down the street, the one who I was talking to, and it tastes like it's laced. They trying to starve me and shit, and I'm pregnant, and that's very stressful. So, God said, blessed to you who don't cover their sin. I ain't gonna cover it up because I'm gonna tell everything they did, and I'm gonna tell you what they trying to use against me. I'm gonna tell it all. But let me go ahead and yes, I am pregnant, and I'm gonna prove that, and the Lord is gonna prove that too. And he gonna prove they tried to murder me in the back of the jail for 10 months. I wasn't smoking no cigarettes for 10 months in the jail while you was poisoning me while I was pregnant. And I was not smoking no damn weed or nothing else that they done laced up while I was in there while they was poisoning me because I was pregnant. But back to what I was saying about my son. They gave Cynthia Olvera, my little boy, after the charges was dropped from me. And then she's telling me that my son was not there. But she was the one who gave me, and I'm going to show y'all the cigarette. And they doing witchcraft to curse me to smoke them. And this is it. And I broke the filter. And it's still laced. But anyway, I don't know with what, but let me finish telling y'all. So I raised my son at 1301 Houston Street. Good mom. And I got the evidence to show that I was a great mom and what they did to me. And, you know, that they lied to me and told me that I was not pregnant in the jail. And I knew that I was. And then they know it's Austin's baby, her adopted white Caucasian son. And she was telling me that she did not, she was telling me that he wasn't there. But she was the one telling me to call and talk to him. Knowing that the judge had ordered for me not to talk to him. This is a cigarette, ain't no weed in here, but they done probably laced it with something, I don't know. And they trying to steal this baby out of me without giving me my son. So let me just finish telling you the people that's involved with starving my pregnancy. And of course the Lord already revealed it to me that they trying to murder me for my kids and because of the evidence. And this is why I'm outside. Because everybody is trying to cover up their involvement of bringing me into these different homes when I was released. Instead of, first of all, getting me out of that jail in the beginning, but they were chasing me around for my baby to have me killed for my son from the jump. And then people have been trying to blood sacrifice me and kill me and my family and in the community long before I even had him. So, all of it is coming together and they all done band together in America because it's exposing all of the murders of the African women who they have killed and whose baby they done killed and whose children they done fed to these devils. So, let me go back to James Devon Harris and Lamarcus Sanders. So, I told Lamarcus Sanders to drop me back off over there with James Devon Harris. Lord Jesus, please help me because I need to remember where I was at because it's a lot of information. While I was telling James, I'm going to put out the evidence about what really happened, with my life, how they got my son and how they got me all up in these people's house trying to have me prostituting and smoking cigarettes and on drugs and, all of this whole time. And I'm not on drugs, Now you can say the cigarette, but they lacing them. And so they're watching me, Hispanic male right there. He's watching, and it's all of the Americans. They're swarming around us because I'm putting out the information that they are murderers over here trying to cover up sex trafficking and child sacrificial deaths. And he's the black man just rolled past me with a young black woman trying to film me. Because they trying to paint me out to be something to cover up what they're doing. So basically, Lord Jesus, help me now. Jehovah. He said Cynthia Olvera has done this before with Austin. However, she said his mother was smoking a cigarette when she gave birth to Austin, and that's all she says about his mother when I asked her how she got Austin, when she was talking about how she got him, and I asked her what happened to his mom, and she said, oh, well, all I can tell you is she gave birth to him smoking a cigarette. So they over here plotting on women who families leave them out there and, who don't have nobody, and then these men are getting them pregnant and then they all doing these rituals on the mother and abusing the mother and don't want to give her food while pregnant by these males, and then trying to fight them and abuse them, and then be like, oh, well, I'll give you drugs, or I'll give you a cigarette. Or and then once you want, when you so stressed and you ask for a cigarette, they act like they don't want to give it to you, and then try to frame you, and then come back and give you a lace cigarette to try to have drugs all in it. So when you give birth, they could be like, oh, you was on drugs and you was smoking cigarettes when you gave birth. And Jehovah came in the spirit, and he showed me that Cynthia Vera was a grand witch in America, in the Satanic Illuminati, and that they will help her pretty much do anything she wants, and that she can get away with whatever, and that she feels like because her money, her power, and her white privilege, and her Satanism, that she can get away with lying and stealing my child, and then them having me all out here, in people's houses, and then have me smoking a cigarette while I give birth. And Jehovah was like, well, she must never have done this to somebody whose God name is Jehovah. So I'm very afraid, because all of the Americans are involved, and it's exposing the entire operation that they have been doing for a very long time on not just African American women, but on different races of white women as well. And this is abuse on women, period, but especially women of color who believe in Jesus Christ and our God. So basically, James Devon Harris was saying, no, don't put the evidence out, please, because he's involved. And so they're all in conspiracy to be on my page and try to talk about me bad on the internet, or try to put out stuff where they done filmed me. But back to people's whose houses that I have been in, because that's the most important thing that I need to expose right now, so I can go on ahead and start doing this evidence of why they're trying to stop me from putting out the evidence. So basically, he didn't want me to put out the evidence that I raised my son, that I wasn't no cracked out prostitute or prostitute like they trying to paint it out to be. They don't want it to be known that I had my own place where I was raising my son. They don't want it to be known that it was over a white man, her son, who was attacking me right after he got out of prison, coming to my home, attacking me, got me pregnant again, because the first son, Melbourne, is our son, and he's a mixed race little boy, and he was attacking me and Melbourne in the house, and there was Satanism involved. He got out of prison and he was attacking us over the 8-week period. I was calling the police, and Cynthia Vera was telling them not to help me while he was attacking us in the house, and the police department decided not to help us. Also, he was attacking me in the streets with the baby in my arms, and he was attacking me in the restaurant that I went into and asked him to dial 911. And then they decided to change the story, falsify the police report. They knew that I was pregnant. They brought me into the jail, did not do a pregnancy test on me. But then when I told them that I felt the baby moving, sorry, they're trying to be loud and come back making all kind of noise to try to keep y'all from hearing. So when I told them that I felt the baby moving in the jail in October 2018, which was a month after they arrested me, it wasn't not too much longer, because they arrested me September 18, 2018. He was released from prison. Austin John Metter was released from prison for assault on a public servant, but they were rigging the charges. I called the police on him because he was ransacking my home, but they charged him with a probation violation. And then they gave him that probation violation when he was attacking me in December 2015 in an apartment that we both had, and then they evicted me from there while I was pregnant with Mel. So then they helped me get an apartment. Joseph and Cynthia helped me get an apartment at 1301 Houston Street that was in my name, and they was all chasing me around the town after they gave me a car to try to get custody of Melbourne, and they were poisoning my food and poisoning my water in the home, and then chasing me around doing satanic rituals on me while I was in the house to try to pay me out to be a paranoid schizophrenic. And Austin is the one who's bipolar, and he has several different mental problems, but mostly demonic possession, to where he's supposed to be taking medication, and they're trying to give me his identity, and make it seem like I'm the mental patient, while they're in there doing satanic rituals on me in the house and coming around the house all late at night and terrorizing us in the home late at night, whites and blacks. The military came out to help them terrorize me in the home while Austin was in prison. And he was begging me to take him back, and I was like, I didn't know, because he was getting into fights in prison, and he was carrying on, getting drunk off hooch in prison. And then when he was about to get out, he still had 2 charges, because he had a theft charge and he had a drug possession charge when I met him. And then he got a assault family violence charge for attacking me in December 2015 at 230 Avenue G. But I didn't press charges. But while he was in there, he supposedly attacked the public servant, and then they put him on a 2-year felony probation for attacking a public servant while he was in there for 42 days for attacking me. So he got out of jail on 2-year felony probation for assault on a public servant February 4th, 2016. And I was still at the apartment 230 Avenue G, and I was not pregnant by him yet. But I was working at Taco Bell. I had a job, and I didn't really know if I wanted to let him back in the home, because the property manager was saying that she would try to have me, move to another apartment complex. But when he got out, he came right there, because the Montgomery County Jail was right down the street from our apartment, not too far from where we were staying. It was a little 1-bedroom studio apartment at 230 Avenue G in Conroe, Texas, and he came into the home and got me pregnant the first night. I conceived, and then he started continuing to, be violent in the home, and he was coming up to my job and harassing me on the way to work, and he was trying to get me out of the apartment to move in a black girl named Bree, who was his ex-girlfriend from Magnolia, Texas, who said that she did not want to be with him anymore, left him for another man because he was on methamphetamine, and he was doing the methamphetamine and the heroin and the crack while he was with me and getting drunk. And so this was where a lot of the violence and stuff was stemming from. And then he was young. He was younger than me. He lied about his age. He was 18 when I got with him. I was 24. And he lied and said he was 21. And the drugs make him look a lot older. But when we were moving into the apartment, I realized that he was older because younger because I saw his ID. He was 18. He had just turned 18 earlier that year. But I was 24. So, when we moved into, he had been attacking me when we first got together in Magnolia, Texas. He attacked me several times by Cynthia's home. He attacked Cynthia in her home in November 2015, right before Thanksgiving, with a butcher knife, and she called 911. And then I tried to stand in front of Cynthia when he was trying to attack her, and that's when he pulled the butcher knife in her kitchen in Magnolia, Texas, at her home. And she ran into the office and called 911. This was before I had my son, before I really got to know him. I was just getting to know him, and he was lying and saying that he was 21 years old. And I figured, I'm 24. I didn't want to be with him in the beginning. I told him I felt like he was too young, but I was kind of out there by myself, kind of like how I am now. So he was the only one really there for me. And I thought, okay, we're only 3 years apart. I was staying somewhere else at the time, but then I ended up leaving there because he was coming over there being drunk, and they were in the house fighting, and I didn't want to be around that. So I was like, I'm going to get an apartment. He was like, he was coming with me, and I went to a guy's house named Andrew. They call him Dookie in Magnolia, Texas, a Hispanic guy. And let me turn around. I don't want to keep going down the street because I know what they're trying to do. But anyway, so basically, he came into Dookie's house. Dookie said I could spend the night there when they were fighting over at Stefania's. And so I went over to Dookie's house and to Andrew's house. And he had stolen old man Jack's car in Magnolia, Texas, an old man that he would be doing meth and heroin with. And he took the car and crashed it into a ditch coming over there looking for me. And then he fled and left the car in the ditch drunk. And then he went to Stefania's house looking for me drunk. And they had had to get him to leave and almost had to use force or call the police. And then he came to Andrew's house. Andrew left me in the house and said he had to go somewhere. And then he came into Andrew's house while I was asleep on the couch, because I told Andrew I didn't want to be sexually active with him and that I was dating Austin, even though Austin tried to fight Andrew that night. So I decided to leave, and then I went to Stefania's, and they were saying he came over there drunk and she had packed up my bag. So I took my bag and I called Andrew. Andrew had tried to take me to the side of the road and have sex with me and force me to have sex with him. And I said no. And then when I went back to Stefania's, my bag was packed. So I left and took it to the park and called Andrew to come back to get me. And then I told him I didn't want to have sex with him, so he let me sleep on the couch. And then Austin came into the home when he was gone, and he had his fist balled up over me. And I started giving him oral sex, and I was on my period, and I let him sodomize me to keep him from abusing me. And I sort of started to feel like that was love. And then so he told me that I needed to go with him, and I went with him to his mother's house, and he was having sex with me there. He was badly on methamphetamine. He was diarrheaing on himself, and I didn't want to stay. So his dad had given us some money to get food and hotel, and I had been selling my stuff from my old apartment where after I had got my inheritance, I was staying at the Grand Estate Woodlands, and they had milked my bank account and overcharged me for everything. They were trying to have me on drugs, and then I ended up leaving from there after I had several jobs over there where I worked. They're trying to make it seem like I've never worked. They're trying to make it seem like I'm a mental patient, that I have never had a job, or a place on my own. Like I've been living off of everybody, when the truth is they have all been living off of me. Mostly, the little help that I did have was when Cynthia told me that not to put Austin on child support when I needed to get some help from the state. So basically, Austin came. Hold on, let me turn because they're trying to come and intimidate me. Let me get on the other side of the road. They are trying to intimidate me and keep coming to keep me from talking. So basically, Cynthia had I had went to his house with his parents. He forced me to go. I had been selling stuff from my apartment when, my money ran out after family borrowed money from me, and, people was coming over using me and stuff like that. But they wanted to make it seem like, it was drugs or why I don't have my inheritance money, when they were all, using me and milking me for all my money. And then so now I was selling stuff out of my storage unit, and Stefania was trying to keep me from eating in her home and she told me that I could take care of her as her in-home caregiver because she had epilepsy, but she was telling me I couldn't eat nothing in her house. So I started selling stuff out of my storage because I had put my stuff in storage, and they told me that I could stay there with her because I knew her son Christopher and I knew her daughter Ashaya, and I would do Ashaya's hair. I sold Ashaya a television, and I worked with Ashaya at XL Auto Parts. She helped me get a job delivering auto parts when I had my Hyundai, and I would do her hair, and her son CJ Christopher would come over to my house and we would chill, and he knew I did music, and I would let him go to the mall with me. So, and then Stefania called, said she need a ride a time or two, and I would give Stefania a ride because she couldn't drive herself, saying she had epilepsy. And so when I lost my place, Christopher was there to help me move all of my stuff from my one-bedroom penthouse apartment, and I moved it I was the first one to move into that apartment building. When they were first built, I paid them $15,000 cashier check to move in, and then I paid them some more, and I stayed there for almost like 2 years or longer. And I worked at Starbucks, I worked at Whataburger, I worked at XL Auto Parts, Forever 21, and basically, when I was moving out, my family had borrowed money from me when I was trying to get on my feet. Larissa called me borrowing money. Andrew borrowed money. They were stealing money out of my account, not my family, but the insurance company, the cable company. They were saying that I was getting evicted for unpaid rent. It was all kind of theft stuff going on as far as my accounts. Shakina called me for money. Larissa called me for money. And then here I was. There were black men who were asking me for money. money who I was taking care of, white women who I had fed, all kind of people who I had helped out with that money. And then when my money was gone, I had to go and move in with Stephania. Now, when I went to her house, she offered for me, I was about to leave and be out on the streets, and she offered for me to come in and stay. She was like, my husband says you can come and stay. He don't want to see you out there like that. And that he'll go ahead and let you stay if you take care of me as an in-home caregiver, and we'll give you $200 allowance every month, and we will go ahead and try to get you signed up as my in-home caregiver to where you can start getting checks from the government for taking care of me. And I was like, that'll be a blessing. So I was going to go to medical school. As far as I know, I didn't have a baby yet, but I did have a surgery where I feel like they may have taken a child from me before during that surgery, but I'll go into that another time. But as far as this, while he's trying to intimidate me down the road, I'm going to turn around. It's a black male trying to intimidate me right there, just sitting in the road. So anyway, so Lord Jesus, please help me, Father God. So Stephania had said, my husband said he'll take you in. So I was there. I was like, I'm going to medical school, and then Christopher was trying to get with me. Their uncle was trying to get with me. All these different people were trying to get with me. Her husband was saying that he was always going to work and things like that. And so I was there with Stephania, and her daughter Dejanay was coming trying to get the room that I was in. And Christopher and Dejanay were fighting. And then they started fighting with their mother, and she fell down the steps, and that was just a lot. She was having me waking up early in the morning and told me I would have an off day, and then on my off day I would go to sell my stuff out of my storage unit to have food, because Stephania was saying that I couldn't eat stuff, or that I was eating too much food out of her home. So I came in with groceries, and her husband was like, where did you get that? Why did you spend your money on groceries when you need to be trying to save your money to get up out of here? But I was hungry, so that's why I did that. And then Austin showed up, and Stephania wanted to come to my storage unit so that she could get whatever she wanted to get out of my storage unit. And I was telling her I'm selling this stuff so I can have extra money and get on my feet and leave. I wanted to get another job, and she was saying that she always needed me on call because of her epilepsy. So now they were saying I couldn't have another job. And then when I asked her for the $200 to pay my phone bill, the allowance, she was telling me, I never said that you could have that. And then so I had to sell my stuff out of my storage, and here she was coming to my storage, picking out the most expensive things, because the stuff I was selling it on Craigslist, and it was brand new stuff that I had bought from my inheritance. And she was telling me that she came in there and took all of my stuff that was expensive. And then I was like, well, I'm selling it. She was like, well, that's the least you can do to show me that you appreciate me staying in my home. And I was waking up early in the morning, washing her clothes, fixing her food, taking care of her kids, cleaning their rooms, and then here she was denying me the money that she had offered me, and she was also taking my stuff that I was using to sell. And then Austin showed up, the white Caucasian male. He showed up telling me he wanted to date me and saying they treat me bad, and he was on meth, asking to use my phone, asking me could I take him in the house, asking me for money, for the little money that I had. And then one day he was outside on the bench saying that he was going to have to sleep outside on the bench. Could I sneak him in Stephania's home? And I said, okay, after he begged me. And then I snuck him in through the window. We had sex, and we had already started going together. At first I told him no, I felt like he was too young, and he lied about his age. He was 18, but he told me he was 21. And then all of a sudden, I had told Christopher and the rest of them that we were dating. They said he was abusing the girl, Bree. I called Bree and asked her, was that true? She said, no. She said he pushed her down one time, but she was laughing. So basically, we started dating, and I ended up leaving Stephania's home because they were in there fighting and all of that stuff. And then it just, it was just too much. And I was used to being independent. I didn't want to be treated like an Egyptian slave in her home, or having her daughters feel like I was taking over her room, because Dejanay was staying somewhere else. But she was saying that she didn't want to pay the rent there. She couldn't pay the rent, and she didn't get along with the roommates, and she wanted me out of her room that she had been staying in, and they had got into it. And then Christopher was saying, oh, my sister Dejanay was finna come up here to try to fight you, but I stopped her. Then we got into a fight. Then my mama came up and she tried to stop, and then we fell down the steps. Then the mama was mad at me, talking about I had my headphones on because y'all know I be doing the music, and I was reading my Bible, and it said, I was reading, it said, may their own tongues turn against one another. And I knew they was all trying to drag me into some drama. So there was a little thing about Stephania's husband, but I'm very respectful about people's husbands. There was a situation where I had been posting my stuff online, trying to meet men when I first had my inheritance, not for money, but just to try to meet somebody. And I had a phone call from a certain number, and I said, don't answer because something happened, and I saved it under don't answer. And Christopher needed to call his dad one day from my phone to come and pick him up. And he said, why is my dad number saved in your phone under don't answer? I did not know. The only thing I know is I had met this man online, and I saved that number. So I don't know, but he never tried to talk to me in her home. He was very nice to me. I'm not sure if that was his number or not, but this is what Christopher said, that his dad number was already in my phone. I never had an affair with Stephania's husband. I don't remember even talking to Stephania's husband, but I do remember that conversation between Christopher and I about why his dad number was already in my phone, saved in my phone under don't answer. And that's the only way that it could have been saved, because that's how I met a man named Jose online. He was using me for money, and after that he moved to Austin, used me for money, promised to pay it back, never did. Then Kuta Kente moved in. He was using me for money, stole a bike, almost had the police kicking in my door. They was just doing too much. The white women was telling me that after 4 to 6 months of giving them a $15,000 cashier check to pay up my rent for the year, they was putting eviction notices on my door, having me come down there and tell them, don't let me go get the evidence. I'm going to get the evidence that I paid y'all $15,000 cashier check. This was long before Kuta moved in. This was the type of harassment that I had to endure. So now I was leaving Stephania's home, and I went to get Austin out of a meth house because Austin had went to a man named Steve's house, and he was supposedly the meth man around there, and I didn't know this man at all, but they had people calling my phone asking me did I really go out with Austin. He was very skinny. I did not know how skinny he was until after we had sex that night in Stephania's house. And then the next day, all his clothes was off. He was on the floor laying down, hiding, because I was hiding him and feeding him food. And then he was very skinny. And I was like, damn, if I would have known he was that skinny, I wouldn't have had sex with him, because I didn't want him to give me AIDS, and I didn't know how skinny he was. But I told him when he came asking me for money, I said, I don't want to take advantage of you. You look like you want some hard drugs. He was asking me for money before we started going out. And I was telling him, I don't want to take advantage of your body, because I felt like with his condition, there was a possibility that other men were having sex with him, because that's how bad he was on the methamphetamine, and that's how bad Cynthia was leaving him out there, to where I felt like other men was having sex with him in order for him to get the drugs out of those houses. It turns out I was right. The black men, he told me at 230 Avenue G, which was part of the reason why we broke up, that a black man was having sex with him to give him drugs. And so Lord Jesus, please help me, because this is some heavy stuff to have to admit. But when people are trying to kill you, you got to go and tell what the hell going on. And so basically, he was very skinny, and I started trying to nurse him back to health in Stephania's home. And he was calling Joseph, his dad, asking him for money for food. And then Joseph was giving the money to me because Austin was just going to go and buy meth with it. And then I was telling Joseph that I would go ahead and get us a motel. But Austin brought me to their home after we left Andrew's house. And he was saying that old man Jack was after us, that drug dealers was after us. I went and got him out of Steve's house when I left Stephania's, and I told him, I said, Austin, I'm about to get an apartment. I don't live like this. I'm not finna be living off of Stephania and then with them in there acting crazy. I said, so I'm not finna let people abuse me. I'm not finna let Stephania and her family abuse me because they feel like they got a nice house and money. I was like, I'm finna go get me a job, and I'm finna get an apartment, and if you love me like you say you do, because he was telling me at the park when I was telling him I didn't want to go out with him, he was telling me that he loved me me, and he was telling me that no, he didn't say he loved me. I'm sorry, I take that back. He was saying that he would never lie to me. He would never cheat on me. Please give him a chance. And I was telling him, because I wanted to go to medical school. I didn't want to have kids. I wanted to be an anesthesiologist, and I didn't want to have any children until I had finished school and got stable and everything. So I was telling him, look, I've been through a lot in my life. My mother had died. I had a pretty hard childhood. That's why I want to tell my life story about my childhood and why I was so focused to not want to get married or have kids until I finished school. I wanted to be able to take care of my children and enjoy it, and so that's why I was like, at the time I was 24, so I was like, I'll wait till I get done with school. I want to be an anesthesiologist. I want to go back to school, be a medical student, and then when I graduate and get in my field, one day I want to get married and have kids. So this was my plan, and here comes Austin over there at Stephania House. I was working as an in-home caregiver, taking care of a woman who had epilepsy, and because Stephania was saying that she had epilepsy, which was why I was her in-home caregiver. And so I felt like that'd be a good little start going into medical school. And she was saying that she would give me my paperwork through the state so that I could get certified as her in-home caregiver, and I thought that would be great. And then Austin was saying, well, I don't think it's the night that I took him in the house. The next day he was saying, I don't think it's fair that you have somewhere to stay and I don't. And I was like, damn, that's white privilege at its finest, because this woman went out of her way, and her family went out of her way to take me up in their house and then offer to try to give me a job. I'm in here taking care of everybody, and you're over here asking me, can you come inside? And then you're jealous, saying because I'm a black woman, why should I have somewhere to stay? And you're on meth and you're outside, and because this is how you chose to live, and you're over here saying, why should I have somewhere? Feeling like because you're CJ's friend that you should be able to come into the home and take my place after I helped you and you told me you wanted to be with me. And he was using me, and I knew he was using me. And so basically, I had told him when I gave him some money before we started dating, I said, Austin, I'm going to give you a couple dollars. He begged me for some money. He came over there to see CJ, Christopher, and they Uncle Pimp. And then they got an uncle named Pimp. And Stephania was like, don't talk to him if he tried to talk to you, because he got like 10 kids. And I was like, okay. So Uncle Pimp was trying to get with me, bringing me to his apartment, trying to get me with me. But I remember what Stephania said. He got all these kids. Do not get with him. So I didn't. And then CJ was trying to get with me, but he told me that he used to date with men, or that he kind of liked men a little bit when we first started being friends. So I was telling Christopher that I wasn't interested in him regardless, because he just wasn't my type, and he was kind of getting the attitude and trying to make me jealous with white girls and light-skinned girls, and it was a lot of hostility. And then Ashaya was kind of acting like she didn't really want me there, because her daddy, she's a daddy's girl, so for her daddy to be bringing in another woman, and she's struggling, and her sister wanted her room back and she's struggling. So I kind of understood why they didn't want me up in their room, but Lord Jesus, please help me, Father God, because it's a lot of wickedness, involved. And so I was struggling a lot. And I was telling Austin when that night he asked me to go for a walk with him at the park, and then I was like, well, Christopher liked me, and you his friend,